Good morning and welcome to SimWorld today, Thursday morning, September 18th. We've got Sniper Jay back in the booth. Good morning, Sniper. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning, Marsh. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic. We're talking SEC. We are talking, so we are, 12 days away, 11 days away from the start of the regular season, and we are doing just that. We're talking SEC. We're finishing our jaunt around college basketball conferences for our top three teams in the SEC. And Sniper, you are dressed for the occasion. You're ready for this. You got a degree from an SEC school. You are ready for what comes next year, huh?
That's right. I am the SEC, and the SEC is me, Marsh. I'm more than ready for
You've been drinking that SEC Kool-Aid, I see. That's what you've been doing.
it.
You are
Hey, look, I live this, so I know it. I mean, it's the only Kool-Aid I like.
that I respect it. I respect it. Let's start. I think this is a pretty wide open conference. There's a lot of really good teams. A season ago, this was a conference that saw seven teams figure or finish at least 500 in conference play. Three teams got to double figures in conference wins. Only two other conferences, excuse me, I guess a handful of others had that. With Virginia Tech, Duke, and Louisville also had three teams reach double figures. So Kentucky and Alabama were the top two squads. Arkansas had a great season. What's your prediction? Let's start with your number three team. Who do you think is number three in the SEC?
Yep, and this is going to be a shocker. It's a school I attended. It's a school I think that's going to make a complete turnaround. And the Texas A&M Aggies, I think they're going to be number
Okay.
three this year.
So let's make the case. Why Texas A&M at number three?
So they're bringing back an abundance of experience, and they're bringing back Ronnie Shanahan. It is what it is. The kid can flat out go. I'm surprised that he's not very high on draft boards, but after this year, I think he will be maybe a lottery pick, and that's shocking coming from me because I don't think too many people are lottery picks.
No,
But
you don't.
we've seen this kid win games last year for this team. I think with the experience they bring back and energy and confidence, I think this team is going to be very competitive and they're going to win close ball games with their experience.
Yeah, Ronnie Shanahan is coming back as their second leading scorer next to Tyrell Marr, who scored 14 just about. Shanahan at 13. Um, Great physical size, gets into the paint really well. Good playmaker, 3 assists per game. That leads all folks coming back to this group, and that's at the wing position. He's a big dude, 6'8", 233. This is not a small guy that does a great job of overpowering players. You'd like to see him, grow just a little bit as a shooter. But Coach Buzz Williams puts this team and puts any team that he coaches. I mean, Buzz Williams teams, right, going back to the Marquette days, win basketball games. And they won basketball games a season ago. I mean, 8-6 in conference, 16-15 overall. Team that was kind of flirting around in the top 25 for much of the season, kind of faded a little bit late, but a team that was in and out of that 18 through 29 range pretty much all season. And three guys coming back in double figures. One of very few teams in the SEC that is actually bringing that back. I like your pick at that with them at number three. Do you think they have a chance at winning the conference?
I do. I do. I think some other teams are very capable of dropping the ball because we already seen them drop the ball. I think other teams may have a little bit of too new people to win it all, or maybe their leadership is brand new to the situation and they may drop the ball as well. But with Buzz, you get a steady hand that's leading this team, and you're bringing back steady players that you know what you're going to get, and hopefully they pick up the pace in production and they win their home games because in the SEC, if you don't win your home games, you don't win at all. If you win your home games and they could go on the road and find some victories like they did last year, make some headlines, this team could win the SEC.
All right, so my number three team is not going to be Texas A&M. It's going to be Florida. A team that also finished in that same range. They were 7-7 in conference play, so just a game behind A&M. I like what they bring back offensively with Trey Willis and Tyshawn Esom. I like the depth. This is a group that I thought had a really good season. They were in and out of, much like Texas A&M was, in and out of the
Hmm.
top 25. They had a really bad finish to the season, 1-4 in their final 5 games, which is really what sank them. But I think it's a group that I would expect to see a little bit more minutes from Kyron Bello, but other than that, you're bringing back you're pretty much your entire roster in rotation from a year ago with some improvement. Again, we talked about this last week. We went from the roster size from 10 to 12. And what does Florida have? Just 2 freshmen walking in that door. So it's an experienced group, a group that's got a lot of talent and that camaraderie and understanding of we knew what we did a season ago. We just have to execute a little bit more in a couple more games. And I think Todd Golden is the type of head coach that can get them to do that.
I tell you what, I looked at this team too. I looked at them hard. It's just I don't know where that third production person is going to come from. I think in the SEC you need about 3 people, 2 people for sure that's going to show up every night, but you need a third person, a spark plug. And Florida right now, I would have to see them play a little bit, maybe get some games under the belt. But right now, I don't know who that third guy is going to be, and if it is a third guy, is he capable of doing it in the SEC? If that makes sense, Marsh.
It does make sense. Where I would counter is say I think that the production that they got out of Esom and Willis, who averaged
Right.
16.7 and 14, so let's make those round numbers. That's 31 points a season ago. If we go and look at a Texas A&M, a group that I mentioned, 3 guys in double figures, it's 14 from Tyrell Marr. It's 13 that takes us to 27 from Ronnie Shanahan, and then it's 11 from Quinlan Rue. So that gets you up to, what did I say, 27, so 37 or
Yeah.
38. So you're only about 6 to 7 points. And lo and behold, Florida had multiple guys a season ago that were in that range, right? You had Levi Rhodes, who averaged 6 points a game. You had Jackson Glenn at 6, Rizzo Davis Wrightshill at 6. I think the Kyron Bello, I mentioned him just because he's the only guy that can shoot threes for this team.
Yeah.
He only averaged 14 minutes a game though last year, so does he get some more? They can kind of choose, right? They don't have to have one guy always in double figures so long as somebody's producing. Now, margin for
Right.
error with that, a little bit less because now you're saying 2 guys instead of the 3 that you're mentioning. But I think the
Yes.
production that we got, especially from Esom, I mean, there's a lot of guys right now in college basketball in that 6'9", 220, 215. He's 225, so a little bit bigger, much like Ronnie Shanahan. Overpowering physical guys. They beat up on smaller dudes, get into the paint. That's exactly what Esom did a season ago.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that. That is, let me ask you this: do you think the SEC is going to be more defense or offense this year? Because last year it felt like it changed throughout the year. I mean, maybe we had defense at the beginning, offense at the end. I felt like. How do you feel about it?
I don't know that the conference right now has the same type of offensive firepower that we saw a year ago. Last season you had, Kentucky with a pair of lottery picks. You had Arkansas with DJ Wagner, a top 10 pick. You had Barkley James in Auburn. He's gone. You had Mississippi State with some offensive fireworks. Joffet Towns, obviously. Trey Turner. There's not that same type of headliner offensive guys, at least not as we enter in. So I think this might be more of a defensive season for the SEC, though that could certainly change. You get the addition of Kai Killens and Almighty Soul to an Alabama team who lost their top 2 scorers. So I think that we're starting off defense, at least that's my expectation, until we start to see, okay, what is the offensive production from some of these guys that are filling the gaps of what left.
And the reason I asked that is because I think the top five, 1 and 2, are going to be offensive led. I believe that third, fourth, and fifth is going to be the teams that play the best defense throughout the year, and that's why I asked you that. As we keep going on our list, that's why I asked, would you think it was going to be? Because I think 3, 4, and 5 is going to be defensive-minded teams that can
Hmm.
score just enough to win.
So let's go to your number 2 then. Who do you got there at number 2?
Number 2, I'm going with South Carolina. I'm
Okay.
going another turnaround team. Coach Dre Pope, love him. I'm glad to see he got the job at South Carolina. I'm glad to see he is free of all allegations and everything. But they got a lot of talent on this team, and they bring in freshmen, they bring back or they bring in transfers with experience. The whole thing, the whole mixing pot is like a melting pot over there, and I'm interested to see what they cook up and what they get. But I think they're going to be pretty good in it.
I have them at number two as well. I think they're a basketball team that has a boatload of talent on it. I mean, I talked with B-Ron about this earlier this week. It's a group that has so much talent entering into this. Yes, you're going to be without Ripakere, but I think that it's difficult to look at this team right now and say, "Oh yeah, I don't believe they can get it done," because I really think they can. It's a very very deep team. It's a team that just you know it's going to be difficult with all those new pieces coming in, but to answer or to kind of talk about that question that you had of do we start offense or defense, as I've said multiple times, I think this South Carolina team is going to be really hard to score against. I mean, they are going to be absolutely massive, and then you still have some offensive production. I mean, bringing back Keandre Baldridge, who averaged 16, Abisai Dance, who averaged 9, um, Isaiah James, who averaged 9, and Charles Pinkard, who transfers in and averages 9. Now, all those 9 points are not created equal, right? A little bit more inefficient from Isaiah James, very efficient from Keandre Baldridge. Another one of those big forwards, more of a big man in Keandre Baldridge that kind of bullies smaller guys at 6'10" or 6'11", 210. I think this is a team, though, that defensively, it's just going to be really, really hard to get to your spots on the defensive side of the ball if you are anybody going up against South Carolina.
100%. And I had the pleasure of talking with Coach Pope on the court. This past week we talked scandal, we talked his team, and right now he's loving Joey Justins on the offensive end. So
Ooh.
that's another offensive spark that he's looking to add. And Mr. Akira, he may be on suspension, but he at 6'9", 246, once his suspension is served, he will be walking back into his starting spot, which only makes them an even taller, bigger, faster, athletic team on that defensive end. So if they're not top 10 in the country in defense, I'm not sure what Coach Pope is doing in Colonial Life Arena.
I mean, when Akira gets back in there, it just adds more, maybe one of the most physically dominant guys, just looking at his measurables. I'm not saying that he's the most athletic guy. I'm not making that argument, but just at his position, there's going to be a lot of physical mismatches. I have a feeling that we've got the same number one team, but give us who you've got, and I'm almost certain we're probably going to say the same team.
It's Bama.
Yep.
It's Bama. You cannot choose Bama, even though I think they're a bunch of sellouts. I think Coach Nate Oates has done a good job of hyping this team up and getting them to the point where they're supposed to be. They just never make it over the hump. And maybe their savior, Kai Killens, can do that. He's been talking in the media, and he feels that his team is ready to take the next step. But anybody would be foolish not to put him at number one just because of the stature, the people they're bringing back, and the top talent in Kai Killens that they're bringing in.
They have the best top talent in excuse me in the conference. I think Guy Killens, as I've said multiple times, if he went into the draft this season, I think he's in the discussion for the top pick alongside Justin Bell and D'Angelo Jordan. I think that, you talk to SWBA scouts, what do they want? They want big wings who can score with the basketball in their hand and can shoot. What is Kai Killens? All of those things. So they've got the best new guy. They also have Almighty Soul, who's
Yep.
it could make the case for the best freshman coming in. They've got, I think, one of the deeper benches in the conference, and then they've got a group that's saying we were really good a year ago, and we were really really good defensively. And yeah, they've definitely been bridesmaid, but never the bride. And I don't know that I would sit here and pick them to be a national champion, but
Right.
they've got the formula when you're trying to
But
build.
obviously, they're sellouts. But I'm just keep going.
Oh, you look okay. Kind of, let's go back to math class here. Two blanks equals championship, right? They've got what you would think on that left side of the equation that could equal a championship. Now, do they end up
Sure.
getting there? We'll find out. But they're in my opinion, they are the surest thing in the SEC compared to every other school in the conference.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. 100%. And I think if they don't live up to this year, we really have to see what's going on at the head coach position.
Now that's a bold take. I am never one, especially in college basketball. I understand it in college football. I don't subscribe to it so much in college basketball just because of the landmines that you have to navigate to win a national championship. It might be the hardest pathway to a championship in any sport. I'm not saying it's the hardest thing to do, right? There's talent level differences obviously, but SWBA, you've got 7 game series that if you're the best team, you can falter in a game and it's not going to end your season. Uh, college college football, you used to have the you know the you could only lose once and that was pretty much it. That doesn't exist anymore in terms of the regular season. So it's a lot more teams get in. I think football, especially the SWFL, very difficult. I would say is right on par with that. But in college basketball, you have to win 6 games. You have to win 6 games against really good competition. And as we've seen with top teams, it's very hard to do that. It's hard to do that consistently. And so, for my opinion, I just don't love this idea of. Then the same thing that I don't subscribe to. Well, Duke, John Shire should be on the hot seat.
I think he should.
I understand it. I understand why, but the guy lost 5 games a year ago. We're gonna judge him on only if you can win
Him.
games in hoopsteria. I don't love that, but that's just where I sit. All right, so
History states, we're not talking about the ACC, but history states that Duke should be judged on postseason. History does not state that Nate Oates should be judged on postseason. I give you that. But the talent he has had year
I
after
would agree with
year
that.
after year, come on now.
I would agree
We
with that.
got to find something that works and gets us to at least win us a game that matters.
So let me ask you this: so your top three was A&M,
Yeah.
was South Carolina, and it was Alabama. My top three was South Carolina at number two, but Florida and Alabama.
Yep.
These are the teams that we did not mention. 4 teams won 20 games a season ago. We didn't touch on them. Kentucky, Arkansas, Mississippi State. Auburn was number 4 in the conference with 9 wins, 1 game behind both Kentucky and Arkansas. Um, you don't have to give me the deep dive on all of them, but what about them high level do you not like enough to put in your top three? Because I don't know that you're wrong, obviously.
It, it's 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 tough to say. Um, to be honest, I kind of went with my basis. I went with people that's coming back with a lot of what's the word I'm looking for?
Experience.
Experience.
Yeah.
I went with experience, and I went with athleticism and hype. If I'm
Yep.
being honest, I went with the hype.
I'm not.
Coach,
Go ahead. Finish your thought. I don't want to cut you off.
yeah, I went with the experience and hype, and Coach Drake Pope bringing in all these nice shiny new toys. It's hype. I believe in hype. Hype gets hype sales tickets. Hype also wins games. And then with Alabama, you just like I said, you can't go against the talent that they have and what they've been doing from season to season. They just don't win in the biggest moments. So you can't go against that. And they're also ranked second in the SimWorld you poll. It's just hard for me to go against that. But those teams under that we're talking about, the State, the Auburn, and in my case, it would be Florida instead of A&M. And then you always got to fight in LSU. And who knows, TJ Rockwell in Tennessee and them might play better basketball. They don't have the sharpshooter that shoots everything he touches there anymore. Who knows? SEC is a very deep conference. And it's going to be 2 games, 1 games. If they had half a games, it would be that. Is how tight this race is going to be, Marsh.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kentucky, you lost 2 lottery picks. Arkansas, you lost to DJ Wagner. What? I think he went 7 last season. We kind of
Yes.
mentioned this earlier. Auburn, you lose Barkley James. Donta Walker, gone. Not Donta Walker. Am I losing my mind? I think I'm losing my mind. In Mississippi State. But you're no Donta Walker was in Georgetown. Who am I thinking of? Give me 1 second. People are listening, saying you numbskull. I know who this is. Um, uh, who am I thinking of? I don't even know who I'm thinking of. But you're just not bringing back the same elite talent level that you had a season ago with Mississippi State. Darwin Cohen and Terrell Pearson are your two main scorers coming back, and you lose Josiah Townley from a year ago. But that's what you're losing from those groups. And Mississippi State very much underperformed during
Yeah,
after a red hot start to the season. But
100%.
to me, the other thing to think about that I kind of go back to is you look at Missouri and Tennessee from a year ago, and Missouri had Japheth Towns, who's maybe a top 5 pick, top 6 pick next season. Tennessee had, or this coming season, obviously, Tennessee had who you mentioned, Trey Turner, who was a top 4 pick last year. And what do? They won a combined 10 games, which wouldn't even have been as many as Alabama did. So you need depth. And between the loss of star power with Kentucky and Arkansas, and I think you can make the case Barkley James for Auburn, and then just the lack of depth that Mississippi State loses, that Missouri didn't really replenish, that Tennessee never really filled in, and that Georgia didn't do around Royce Anderson. It's really
That
hard
we
for me to
don't that
see
we
there.
don't know of. We don't know if they filled it in. We haven't
Right.
seen their roster yet, but
In action.
you,
We haven't seen their roster in
I agree
action.
with you. They haven't filled it in the sense of we haven't seen it. But keep
Yeah.
going. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. It's just who's replacing. I mean, I have been time and time again very high on Kentucky a year ago. Like I thought Adonis Knight needed to get more minutes. I thought Trey Truss needed to get more minutes. Neither of them did. Like those guys could very easily be, you know, Adonis Knight could who like Adonis Knight 11 points per game last season in 22 minutes. Trey
Right.
Trust 8.5 and 21. Like I think those guys could both be 15 point per game scorers for this team and make up a really dangerous backcourt. But it's one thing to do that efficiency and that scoring level on 20 minutes. It's a totally different thing to do it for 30. Can they do it for 30? And they didn't really bring in, an elite talent in the same way that Alabama did, which is like this is the first Mark Pope recruiting class, and we didn't see a number one recruit go to Kentucky. Like Christ Coates is probably their best guy. He's not somebody that you have SWBA scouts salivating over and hoping and praying and wishing and can't waiting for him to enter the draft. Kentucky doesn't have that. They did a year ago. The same thing for Arkansas. There's not this return of talent for these programs that last year had elite pieces. Arkansas and Kentucky don't bring that back.
Yeah, it's almost like they're playing on an even playing field now.
Right. Right, and I mean maybe Arkansas does. Like maybe it is Devontae Schindler who turns in a big point or a center possession and dominates there. Maybe it is Elijah Washington who can be a freshman. But again, those aren't names that jump off the table with the
No.
same type of impact that a freshman like Kai Killens has. And Arkansas and Kentucky don't have the legacy players from a year ago that you know that South Carolina definitely brought in a lot of those guys, even if they don't
Yes.
have them. Florida has those existing guys. Texas A&M has those existing guys. Arkansas, Kentucky, Auburn, they don't.
Yeah, 100%. I guess we're gonna see how good the player development is this year.
Yeah, it'll be a big test, and I think we're gonna see, how does Mark Pope develop without bringing in elite recruits? And this has been another topic. We've been seeing blue bloods aren't really getting number one guys, right? Like we aren't seeing pencil in Duke, pencil in Kentucky, pencil in North Carolina for your top recruits. It's kind of all over the place, right? It's Syracuse, it's Alabama. It's just not your traditional powers that are getting these top guys. South Carolina, it's these kind of more abstract programs. Monte Parson is committed to Ohio State, right?
Right.
That's what we're seeing. Any parting thoughts before we close this thing out? And we'll be back next week. We're gonna do national champions. We'll do a top three, which we probably will be maybe a little all over the board. But any parting thoughts from the man that is the SEC?
I am the SEC. The SEC is me. That's all I got.
And you can stay tuned on SimWorld TV, where it's the only place that you can see the game, be the game. We're back tomorrow morning.